Hello everybody, welcome back to another video about drawings. Now, I'm not exactly interested in showing you any new stuff today. Besides, I don't really have that much of it. Just kidding, I do. However, well, actually, there is something really big I want to show you today, but I'm not going to show you right now. I will show you today, but not right now. It is about to be 1:49 a.m. right now. I'm going to try to be quiet. Here we go. Alright. Just give me a minute to get the stuff ready. Alright. Here we go. Let me just... Shit, hold on. Alright. Sorry about that sloppy introduction. Now, let's get to the actual stuff. Okay. Now, this guy here is a, this here is a old pic... God. This here is an old drawing of the Morrow Strike, a dragon I made up a pretty long while back. Well, about a year or two ago. So anyway, about several years ago, I don't know, I randomly came up with this monster of some kind. So, basically, the monster is this, you know? So out of nowhere, I heard this name of a monster called a Mashangasaur, something like that, and for some reason that gave me an idea of a monster of some kind. So, you know, but I wasn't exactly sure how to design it. But then I watched the trailer for Don't Starve for one of the Don't Starve DLCs, Reign of Giants. And you know how at the very end of it, Bigfoot comes in and kills that deer collapse? Well, that immediately gave me the idea of what a Mashangasaur would look like. Basically, just a creature with a huge foot that would kill you. And so I started drawing this creature with a long neck and a chubby body with scales all over him. He's got like a tiny head at the top and like a little tail. And he's got originally he would have like one giant leg that would help him hop around. But then years later, I decided to revisit that, and I decided to give him an extra leg because one leg does not a dragon make. Yep. So I guess I could have kept the name Mashangasaur, but then I realized that's actually kind of the same name as as an actual dinosaur, a Majungasaur, if you will. So, yeah. So as you may have noticed, this guy is huge. That goes without saying. He's... God damn it, focus. The camera's not focusing, hold on. Okay, sorry about that, the thing wouldn't focus. Hold on, let me just put on some music in the background. Okay, that's a lot better. Feels a lot less dead. Alright, well, now that I showed you the Mauer Strike, I'm actually going to try redesigning this guy tomorrow. Not sure if I'll actually get to it, but I'm hoping that I do. Alright, next one. Here is the Hullabaloo Handyman. So I was watching Alice in Wonderland a few days ago, and, well, I decided to draw this dude. Should have dated this, because I can't remember when I made this. But anyway, well, I actually... Okay, so basically, he's this weird guy that's made up... He's like a scarecrow, but without a head, you know? And all he's got is, like, glasses and a tiny mouth of some kind. And he just carries around a hammer, and, basically, he just heads into the Tulgey Wood. Yes, that's where he lives, the Tulgey Wood. And he, randomly nails up signs that say random stuff on there, you know? He'll often even write down dumb or fake stuff. Like for example, down one path, he'll post, like, hundreds of signs that say, stuff like, fairies ahead, gold ahead, monsters ahead, tons of mome wraths ahead, or something like that. Sorry if I'm butchering Lewis Carroll's creations. But anyway, yeah, that's kind of what he does. He posts all kind of hullabaloo all over the forest, hence his name. But not only does he do that, but he sometimes fixes things. I say that with aggressive quotation marks. Because when he fixes things, he basically just makes them worse. For example, if you ever asked him to fix a fishing pole or something for you, he'll do a very terrible job at it. He'll basically just hold on. He'll basically just nail a bunch of boards together, wrap a bunch of string and hooks around it, and then say, "Here's your fishing pole. It's done." Yeah. Again, this isn't his official design, as you can see here, but well, you know. This is his. This is going to be his poem. Again, it's in beta, but you know. Hammering about within the wood is quite fun, you see. With hands like mine, it's fun to fix, so nail a tree with glee. I'll cobble shoes, I'll fix up feet, I'll break a board and have it to eat. Shine my glasses, tap my shoes, bury the nails and flood them out. I'll fix it up, yes I will, I'll tinker all that seems a tad ill. Yeah. The rhythm of it seems a little off, but it's there. So, yeah. The only tool he actually has is just a hammer. And yeah, he does carry around nails. And by the way, fun fact, his body is actually stuffed with a bunch of random stuff like, like insulation and walls, thumbtacks, paper, concrete powder. But basically, everything here, his legs, his body, everything. It's all stuffed with a bunch of random stuff that you'd probably use for equipment. You know, I might give him a hat in the future, but yeah, well, it might change. Otherwise, he'd look a lot like another character I have named Mr. Biskin. I'm not sure if I showed you guys that guy yet, but I don't know. Alright, so recently, I've been trying to do this thing with a couple old dragon designs. Yep. Here we have the Thornets. Possibly... Oh, okay. So I was watching the Midnight Gospel, great show, and in one of the episodes, and for a quick second, this one little dragon-like creature appears in the background, and it's like this small, long-necked creature with like little spikes and a little arrowed tail. So I thought, hey, maybe I can draw that, and I did. I totally did. But then at one point, I decided to try redesigning them, and then look at this. Yep. Okay, so the girls are bigger, and the dudes are kind of smaller, you know? And the girls also have, like, little arrow tails. They got orange eyes with little, horns on top of them, and they got, little venomous fangs. The dudes, on the other hand, have, they're a lot scrawnier. They're a lot quicker, though. Yep, they're sweet, too, so that's neat. So these guys are, they're part of the shark class, obviously. And, look at this. I even actually tried putting down little, Viking things for their name. Yep. I'm not sure if those are official Viking things, but still, I tried. I'm really happy with how this came out, too. Especially with how, swirly the dude's tail is. And, I definitely love how I made them look different. At least different enough, so that you could tell them apart. Because the... Okay, so, wait, no, hold on. And then there's these guys. The Carcharodons. The Carcharodons are my most hold on a second, Okay. The Carcharodons are my most favorite out of all the other dragons I've made up, because, well, I like their design, and they kind of remind me of, I guess they're a bit like a mix between the Puff Natter and the Deadly Natter. But wait, you guys don't know what the Puff Natter is? Look it up. Never mind, I'm not even gonna bother. So anyway, so my idea of the Carcharodon is that they'd be a lot like the Deadly Natters, kind of like how the Hop Burples are, cousins of the Gronkles. Yeah. So Carcharodons have these really long necks, and they got these little horns on their heads, and they got these pouch-like things, in their throats. That way they can carry tons of fish and stuff. However, there's a little thing about them that makes them a lot more different from other dragons. For instance, they love to eat eels for some reason. Yeah, eels. Yep. Just like I'm not sure if that many dragons eat eels, but I know typhoomerangs do, so it must be a rare thing. You guys don't remember what typhoomerangs are, do you? Well, that's all right. I honestly don't either. Okay. Next up, there's the Death Glare. I think this is actually the first one I drew when I was doing this whole dragon redesigning thing. So the Death Glare is a T-Rex like guy here. So I think I remember just I think I've actually given this guy a couple different concepts before. I don't know. I I why the hell don't I script these things? This is stupid. Okay. Also, you notice it's Arple. Arple third, not April. Not April. So last month. Well, let's try April instead. It's Arple. What the fuck am I saying? Okay, so you probably noticed, judging by the scale, these guys are pretty big. I guess they could be part of the tracker class, but I think that might be a bit of a mistake considering how small their nostrils are. But whatever. So with that huge eye, they can actually see tons of stuff. Plus, these guys are smart. They are really fucking smart. About as smart as any dragon from the strike class, which I probably should have written down. But, intelligence isn't just a strike class. Never mind. Let's just move on. Okay, so these guys are pretty fast, and well, for a little bit, I guess the proportions of this guy kind of bothered me for a bit. Like, just with how big his head is and how small his legs are. So, shit. So I tried redesigning it, but I just didn't pull through with that because I kind of just stopped caring after a while. But hey, I mean, I absolutely love the result that this came out. I know what I said before, but again, that's in the past. So anyway, these guys actually have a lifestyle similar to bears. They like to forage, so they pretty much just eat things like like berries, fish, small mammals, wood, rocks. What, the bears don't eat that? Well, Death Glares eat it, so shut up. Yeah. Well, anyway, hope you guys like him, because, you know, let's just fucking move on. Well, let's just get to the actual cool part. Alright, you guys ready for the surprise? The Vendarian Bestiary. Original created by me. Yeah, I can't remember when I made this, but I know it was sometime in 2019. 2020, maybe. Yeah, 2020. Okay, so Bestiary, the kind I was going for, it was basically just going to be a book filled with monsters, but what Bestiary isn't? Yep. So basically this book was going to be filled with all kinds of random monsters that I would make up. Those monsters being stuff like Pyranars, Watchers, Gorgons, all that. All through my words. But of course, writing an entire journal of these things in pen is a little problematic because, oh boy, there's always those little grammar errors and scribbles and stuff. And then there's always those crappy drawings that you make. Now, don't get me wrong, I am proud of this journal. This is possibly the most drawing-related thing I've ever put, like, a crap ton of work into. Or, wait, well, let me rephrase. This is possibly the most worked-on drawing-related thing I've ever made in my entire life. Because this book, this book is fat. It has so much stuff in here. I guess you could say I didn't exactly go into that much detail with these things because, well, there's a lot of blank bits with these. But, I may have over-exaggerated with, this design right here. I kind of had fun, imagining this, though. Of course, this isn't what of course, some stuff in here is a little outdated by now. Because this is not what charcoal pyranars look like. Not anymore. Their fur does not grow down this long. It does not look like that. Nothing has changed for the Watchers, though. Not at all. Yep, it's all still the same. So basically, for the Watchers, they kind of just go to this boarding school thing, like this, like just days after they're born. They're sent to this huge boarding school, and then they pretty much just stay there their entire life until eventually they're reunited with their families. The reason why is because they live in this dystopian society called Spockton. Yep, population 3 million. Of course, right next to them, there's this small village known as Spogsville, population 334. There, a bunch of, well, refugees pretty much live. A lot of them being tall, a lot of them being fat, and a lot of them being weirdly shaped like this dude. A lot of them wearing silly hats and colorful outfits, while in Spogton, everyone looks almost the same. Yeah. Also, a little fun fact about Watchers. These dudes love to make hats for some reason. Yep. Some of them like to make weird, spiky hats. Some of them like to make stuff out of snake skin or wool. Some of them like to just make, dapper stuff. Like beanies, or top hats. Or top hats with feathers stuck into them. Or really weird umbrella hats. They can also grow tons of hair. Yep, because that's cool. Also, they're known to be a lot taller than humans. Yeah. Also, I before you guys ask, in a way, these guys, the design for these guys is kind of inspired by the. Okay, here's the story. So, sometime in 2019, when I used to play Don't Starve, I looked through this mod page in the Steam Workshop for Don't Starve. And then I came across this fan character mod, and it was this character named Watcher, which was a guy with an eyeball for a head, and I thought it was pretty cool. But then at one point I started making drawings of him, and then I started coming up with random names for him, you know, like Wandlin or Filbert. But then eventually Wandlin stuck. And just like that, that's how I came up with the idea of Watchers. Yeah. I guess you might argue and say that I got the idea from the Watchdogs and Commander Peepers from Wander Over Yonder, but no, not exactly. I mostly just got the idea from that character mod for Don't Starve. Um, but the enigma of how they eat and talk is definitely inspired by the Watchdogs. Like how in the very first episode of Wander Over Yonder, they're actually shown licking ice cream, but there's no tongues. It doesn't show them opening their mouths or anything. It, it, it it's like their mouths are invisible or something. It's insane. Anyway, moving on. Next up, there's this thing. Yep, it's like this weird temple I made up. I can't remember its name. But inside it, there's these weird monsters I made up called the Worksists. Waxists, whatever I called them. Worksists, that's it. Okay, so these guys are just these weird zombie-like things made out of wax and these weird black thorn things. And inside their heads, there's these candle things. So, I didn't exactly do that much with the creatures in this, but I definitely put a lot of lore into it. Not gonna spoil it, but, Oh, man. Yep. I definitely had fun drawing these scary expressions. I definitely had fun. Plus, I sure did write a lot of Latin stuff here. Because for some reason I thought that would make it look cool, but really it didn't. All that really did was just, yeah. I think all I really did was just clutter up that chapter. But, next up, there's the Bushels. Okay, so these guys are pretty old. I made them up back in 2018, and, well, Basically, it's just these guys that would walk around with plants on their heads, and they would camouflage themselves as stuff like that. I think I got the idea from the bush hat thing from Don't Starve. That bush hat, the thing that you would wear to camouflage yourself. Freaking loves that disguise. It always looked cool, and yep. So I decided to make up creatures out of them. However, it doesn't just stop at bushes. Sometimes they're disguised as grass tufts. However, the grass tufts guys aren't very smart. In fact, their hiding places are pretty ridiculous. Sometimes they hide just at the tips of cliffs, like this guy. Sometimes sometimes they like to burrow, but it seems a little pointless. And sometimes they hide straight under rocks, which is very unnecessary. Next up, there's the flower guys. There isn't really much to say about them. They're just like any other bushel, but they just disguise themselves as flower gardens. Yep. Don't pick them because it hurts. Next up, there's the desert variety. So these guys are much bigger, but they come in like 3 different forms. Some of them are disguised as tumbleweed twig things, some of them as rocks with little cactuses on them, and some of them are just big, bulky bastards with like a tiny tuft of grass on their head. Yep. Here are a couple other concepts of the twiggers. Some of them are disguised as brambles or spiky vines, and some of them, again, disguised as tumbleweed bits. And then there's the little cactus walkers. They even occasionally grow cactus fruits like prickly pears. This page, I just wanted to draw a bunch of different sea monsters. Yep. Anyway, next up there's these guys. The oceanic bushels. Okay, so these guys, they're kind of just made up entirely of coral and rock. And on top of their heads, they have little, living plants like, sea anemones, coral, fish, seaweeds, stuff like that. Yeah. The ones that... I guess I really just like the way that these all came out. Really colorful. Oh yeah. Plus, the seaweed guys, they can control those little seaweed things on their heads, and they can use them to grab onto prey like that. Pretty crazy, huh? Okay, so, and then at one point I started making up these deities. First up is Frisk. I'm not gonna waste your time and just say what he does, but yep, here are all the other deities. Looking down on Vendera. This took forever to draw and color in because, well, all the blue and stuff. And then there's these other planets in the background. That there is Flareon, and that one right there is Zant. Not sure about these ones, but yeah. And here we have Frisk eating a meanie. And then we have Fiera. Okay, so I guess an old concept for... actually, hold on. This is Frisk in full view. And there's Vendera. Also, that's him hugging a planet because he's nice. Anyway, back to Fiera. Back then, I named this guy Fire because I thought that'd be a cool name. It really wasn't. In fact, it was a very confusing name. So, quote-unquote fire here was a fire deity or something. Not anymore. Not anymore. Again, some stuff in here is outdated. And of course, Frisk did not like him. Not one bit. Of course, Tabular here was able to take care of him. But, as Tisio here was, cooking up a couple thoughts that something worse than Fiera was going to come along. And then we get into Fiera's backstory a little more. Like, way back then, his planet was destroyed. Actually, I'm not gonna get too deep into that. That's a massive spoiler. Okay, we have a pretty big one here. Okay, so... hold on. Okay, so back then, I came across this creepypasta that was about these giant monsters that were hiding in the storm clouds of a huge thunderstorm. And I decided to call them the Bertigiles, or Bursties. Terrible names, I know. I couldn't think of anything good, though, so forgive me. Anyway, this guy took forever to color in because, well, they're gray. So, of course I colored in everything to be gray. Yep. I'm not gonna go too deep into what these guys do, but eh. Next up, there's the Cyclopses. Yep. Okay, so way back then, Cyclopes used to live in this this huge, they used to live in these huge mountains out in the south, I guess, and they used to live in this place called Visrate. But then Visrat, however the hell I used to pronounce it, whatever. At one point, the place just got destroyed, and well, you know, they all buried themselves in hopes of like hiding because the place was somehow destroyed by something. Can't remember how, but you know. And here we have. I'm just gonna skip. This guy's name is Vargas, by the way. Hold on. All right, so let's try and make this one quick. Okay, so one of I was watching one of the old Tinkerbell movies, and I came across the one called Tale of the Never Beast, and it gave me the lore behind the Never Beast gave me a couple ideas of stories to make, until I created Vargas, the time traveling, dimension hopping wizard. I know it's stupid, but here's the thing. Okay, so every 1,000 years, this dude has to collect a bunch of random stuff, like like crystals, clay materials, pens, something, whatever this all says. I'm not gonna read it to you because I don't have that much film time left. Okay, so every 1,000 years, this huge rift would open up, and then these demons would threaten to come in. I dare you to point out the reference in this. I dare you. I fucking dare you. Yeah. And of course, well, because of him doing this all the time, everyone in Vendera pretty much loves him. Well, I think everybody. Yeah. And every time he does these ritual things, he makes these clay sculptures of the deities just to make it seem cool. But he doesn't always do that because he's always in a fucking hurry. Yep. Yep. Next up is the Zorus. Okay, so don't get me wrong. When I first made these guys, I was really happy with the design I gave them. I really was. But then I noticed their name. Seem a little familiar to you? Does it make fish people come to mind? Yeah. When I first made these guys, their names are pronounced Zorus. Okay, the plural is Zoruses, but it's stupid. So basically, these guys are these flightless and really fast fire-breathing dragons, and they're pretty awesome. But I couldn't exactly think of a good name with them at the time. So yeah. Okay, so way back then though, I tried making this little dragon manual of my own because somebody I think Dad gave me this little leathery handbook, and inside of it it had like pages that looked very old. So I was inspired and decided to make it into my own little dragon manual, which I did, and that included the Zorus, which is I think the very first dragon that I've actually made up and kept. So yeah, Zorus. Yep. So basically, his information in the old one though was that he'd be the autobiography I used for him would be that he'd just be the quote living offspring of gore and death itself or something. I pretty much just copied the thing for the Night Fury because I thought it would be cool, but it really isn't. It's just copying. I actually tried going into debt with these guys. Even saying that if you ever look into their eyes, then you'll die. Later on, I made up these guys, the Scalps. These guys are just these really annoying and really mischievous creatures that like to live in clouds. And what they do is that they control the weather. Nobody knows how they're able to do it, they just do. Yep, they love to annoy the shit out of people. Yep, and here I tried to draw amphisbaenas. Yeah. Not particularly proud of this, but, well, at least I tried making it look cool. Let me skip ahead a little. Oh, okay. Here's an old classic. So, way back then, I think 5 years ago, I made up these, well, okay, so, you know the dragonfly from Don't Starve, Reign of Giants? Well, I decided to make a parody of that, sort of. Basically, I made these guys called the Rep Sects, something like that. So basically, it's just a lizard, a really chubby lizard with tiny fly wings on his back. And what he would do is that he'd suck in a ton of air and then blow out a huge baseball-sized fireball at you. Hence why they're so chubby sometimes. I really freaking love the result of his design in this page. I really do. I I really like the concept of it too. One time, I also wrote a story called Olga and Horatio. The story about this lizard, this giant lizard who adopts this little snake with an eye for a face. Yeah, yeah. Um, and then in the story, these hound things called Frelick hounds appeared, and I decided to design them because I didn't want to abandon it. Oh yeah, and then there's these guys. Another personal favorite, the Scout hounds with little dots at the top of the eye. Oh. Yep, I really like the design I gave these guys. I really freaking love how I made this guy look kind of skinny and lanky. I love the way I put the little furry things on his tail. I definitely love the way I designed his mouth, jaw, and the little like the tiny teeth just at the edge of his bottom jaw. I I just freaking love the result of this drawing. Uh, yeah. I read the Zoophobia comic once, and then I saw Brutus, Carrie's horse pet, whatever it is, and then, well, in the comic, it roared at camera. You have no idea what the fuck I'm talking about, do you? Well, okay. I saw this horse demon in a comic once, and pretty much 1 minute it looked normal, the next minute it opened its mouth and roared that at a certain character, and it had knife-like fangs. And I thought that was cool, and I decided to incorporate that into a monster. Yeah. Okay, let me just skip ahead here. And here we have Hydras. Okay, so, as cool as Hydras in original Greek lore are, I just couldn't resist, making them into little... Basically, the kind I imagined are the size of bulldogs, and they can only ever have 3 heads. Sure, you can cut off all 3 heads, but they'll just regenerate like that. They won't grow 2 new heads, not in the same spot. They'll just... Okay, you cut off 1 head, it'll just come back as one head. It's normal. So basically, these guys are partially immortal, but not really. I hate these. No. Alright, fine. Okay, so the Brambith is another dragon I made up, but I didn't get too into it. I was watching the Midnight Gospel one time, and there was this creature in the background I really liked the design of, so I decided to draw it, and here he is, the Brambith. Here are the Murstargs, basically the narwhals of the Vendera universe. So basically, they're these giant porpoises that have these long tongues with retractable spikes on them. Yep. Sweet little things, too. No. Oh. Yeah, these guys are an old classic. Broggles. Yeah, it's bad. Bad. It's bad. It was good, though, at least. It's bad. Look at it. They're all tending to their queen. Yep. I am so tired. Okay, so Broggles are pretty much just these little burrowing creatures that, So the females are really freaking big, and, well, the males are pretty small. So in a way, the females are about the same size as average warthogs, I guess. Let me just... Yeah. Okay, these guys are a real favorite. I call them the Tuskrits. Basically, they're these little piranha plant things that breathe fire. and I think that's really fucking cool. Tell me what you guys think. Um, oh, here's another dragon design I came up with: the fire fairies. Basically, they're these really really tiny dragons that can well set themselves on fire. Hence the name. And hell, they kind of come in like colonies. So basically, hundreds of them fly together at a time, which means they can form into a little mass of them, and they can set themselves ablaze like that. Yeah, they are not kind to the hand. Oh yeah, and then there's Zelks and Furpents. I'm not going to talk about the Zelks because I hate the Zelks. I hate Zelks. They're vermin. They are nasty. I hate them. The Furpents, however, I love them because they're my favorite. The reason why is because their design has been on my mind for quite a while. That almost rhymed. Design on my mind. That rhymed. Yep. So basically, they're these they're these really, really endangered creatures, which, yeah, snakes with fur, yeah. Yep, of course, for some reason I have this weird niche of making the chicks bigger than the dudes. I mean, yeah, I guess that's sexual dimorphism for you, but, yeah. Is that normal in nature? I mean, do all animals have, like, women that are bigger than the guys? I don't know about you guys, but I'm starting to think I'm doing this way too much. What do you guys think? Anyway, baby furpents. Well, the dudes have orange heads, while the chicks have purple heads. But then over time, the colorful scales in their heads just kind of go down, and that's a lot of eggs. Oh yeah, by the way, there's only two known furpents left, and that is Reiko and Phoebe. Luckily, the two of them were able to get together and get along, and eventually they had a whole clutch of babies. Yep, no more endangered species there. So you guys remember the stink lizards from Futurama? I sure do, and I love them, so I decided to recreate them myself. So, yeah, what can I say about the stink lizards except that, well, they stink. And the reason why they stink is because they eat these giant pumpkin things called gupkits. Oh, shit. Yep. And boy, do they love those gupkits. And guess what? Those gupkits are actually able to help these little dudes grow into huge bastards, like huge guys, possibly the size of freaking elephants. Yep. These guys can grow to the size of elephants. No joke. Thanks to these pumpkin-like things. Oh yeah, and yeah, these things are disgusting. Next up, there's this character, Krajbrax Natana. So back then, I kind of imagined this guy as a kind of deity of pure madness, but then I changed it and decided to just make him into an alien of some kind. And I called him a Jacubus. Basically, just a shape-shifting being that can do pretty much anything. And I decided to do a little variety with designs of some other Jacubi, like this angry one, or this sad one, or this happy one. Basically, these are just visual examples of what happens depending on their emotions. When they're mad, they set themselves on fire. When they're sad, everybody else around them gets sad too. But when they're happy, well, you know. Also, they eat these really weird melons called snake melons, which are basically just watermelons but without the stripes, and they're really bumpy. Yep. Oh, also, well, here's where baby Jacubi come from. So when, all right. So when two Jacubi love each other very much, they go find a snake melon, and one of them eats the snake melon whole. And in just a few months, the snake melon will then turn into a baby Jacubus, inside an egg, actually. And then, one of the Jacubi will puke up the egg, and then, in a couple months, well, the egg will burst open, and boom, a baby Jacubi will come out. And that's where, that's how I got here. Okay. I don't think we have much time left, so I'm gonna try and make this quick. I swear I'll try to show you some of the rest of them sometime, but you know. Alright. This one is possibly the hardest part of the entire journal because this one was a massive payoff. So I called this chapter the Favored Mountain. Basically, it's this giant mountain-like thing where it always rains and where no human has ever gone to, or basically no human has ever gone there and returned, because anyone who dies there, well, I don't want to spoil that. Okay, so basically, I made up this little story about me going on an expedition with a bunch of people. The first guy being KCP Kalst, a hunter and taxidermist who really finds it fun to just shoot some stuff, especially with his old family musket. And then there's Cordelia P. Sampson, a very rich and very what the hell is the word? Adventurous. That's it. A very adventurous lady who won't hesitate at all to wallop you on the head for questioning her authority. Next up, there's Mason F. Rako, a you know, a kind of voodoo expert who tends to, use voodoo magic on certain things. Hell, he even wrote his own book, The Book of Shadows. And then there's Professor Ray T. Vernton, a guy who often delves in botany and zoology and stuff. His most favorite subject being living carnivorous plants, that being the tuscarads, of course. And then there's Dr. Arthur G. Avast, a guy whose expertise is mostly in ornithology and other stuff. Yep. He's a pretty overprepared guy, really, though. He has this huge backpack that has all kinds of stuff in it. Water, books, extra books, backup glasses, clothes, you name it, he's got it. And then there's Xander P. Tomstatov, a guy who, yeah. He's a guy from Wintlesburg who carries around this awesome sword. He doesn't exactly research that much, but I'll tell you what, he was pretty interested in going on the expedition, but then he had to bring along the Skohound. And then there's Dr. Raymond S. Tanners, a pretty traumatized scientist who doesn't have any legs, so he always crawls around in this thing. According to him, he lost his legs due to a gope slug, which he named after himself, but he doesn't like to talk about it that much. And then there's Donna D. Anthrella, a very sweet and very loyal old gal who loves to write really weird poetry, as explained in her book, Lovely Lizards and Gravy Boats. She also invented her own jelly recipe, she called Grubby and Jam, which smells like crap, but it tastes delicious. And then there's Frels P. Denafa. Basically, her thing is all about drugs. Yep, she loves to just design bongs and make drugs. Yep. Yeah, that Frel account does not seem interested. Ow! Okay, awful noise. Now, I think it's about time that I tell you the secret behind Favored Mountain, and just why I wasn't willing to tell you before. Also, that's an umbrella above them, in case you're wondering. Where did it come from? I don't fucking know. Those who perish upon Favored Mountain are most likely to turn into statues. Why? Well, I don't know. It's a bit of a curse with the mountain. Nobody really knows why. Okay, here's a couple fun facts about Favored Mountain. Once again, it always rains there, and nobody knows why. All kinds of creatures seem to live up there, and, yet, when they die, they don't turn into statues. It mostly just seems to apply to humans or, cyclopes, but that's pretty much it. What creatures live up there? We'll save that for next time. I'm almost out of filming time. Alright, well, with that settled, I guess I only have, one thing to say to you. This book is not for sale. It is property of me. Also, I'm actually planning to give it to somebody once I move out. Who, you ask? I'm not going to tell you. Not unless you ask, please. If you want to know who I will give this book to in the future, just say please. Say pretty please with cherries on top. Or just please. Just a plain please. Okay, I'm done. Bye.